Hello, welcome back to More Than Just Headlines. I'm your host, Kate. And today with me, I have a friend of mine. Please, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Koyo. I'm visiting from the United States, and I'm here to join this podcast to see what it's all about.
Today, we're going to be talking about feminism and sexism. You know, a lot of people confuse feminism with sexism. So my first question to you would be, when was the first time you ever heard of feminism? Like, what was your very first understanding of the word feminism?
I'm not sure when the first time I heard it was. I know it was years ago. Like, it's such a popular term that's used everywhere. I remember reading about it very young and just seeing it as a term of empowering women. That's it. Not anything anti something else, or just more so uplifting women in a way that gives us more power in terms of us, I guess, like owning our own power in that sense.
Okay, I think for me, the first time I ever heard or saw the word feminist must have been like maybe when I was in primary or early secondary school. You know, I believe that the first time you learn something actually kind of like influences the way you see it and perceive it. So the very first time I heard the word feminism, it was in this book called The Second Class Citizen.
Okay.
So it was actually describing a woman who moved out of Nigeria, went to live in the UK, and was kind of like maltreated by her husband. And, you know, for some reason, there was this need for emancipation. I remember like feeling very bad for her. Mm-hmm. Like I now felt the need to want to be a feminist, you know. At that very young age, you were very
impressionable.
Yeah. So then when it comes to feminism now in Nigeria, I think a lot of people confuse feminism with sexism.
Okay. I have two comments.
Okay.
One, I think for me, feminism was used in like, the 60s, 70s, like in the women's movement that they've had in the US. But to me, I see it as, I didn't go into it the same way as other people. I take words and I like to use it to what empowers me. So that's what I meant with feminism feeling like an empowerment tool. So I think when it comes to sexism / feminism / all of these things, you're asking a group of so many diverse people to come up with a definition for these words. Of course, it's going to have so many biases in it that you're going to see the gender wars. You're going to see people on the opposite end who are like, please, let's just all have peace and let's relax. This is about uplifting women. This is not about that. But then you have people like, no, we like how things are. We want the women to be these certain things. Now we're here and we're trying to figure out how to keep a balance of what sexism means, what feminism means in the grand scope of our everyday lives, when as people and as genders, our lives are not the same.
I'm still a feminist. Yes.
But why do you feel the need to hold on to that term so strongly?
No, because feminism is basically just us fighting for equity.
Okay.
You get so equal pay, you know, equal rights, women having the same opportunities as men.
Yes.
But this is not to say that men and women are not the same in strength, in physique, in everything. And the thing with feminism these days is almost like feminism now feels like a cult. It's crazy, especially on Twitter. Even though I love some of the Twitter feminists, you know, sometimes I like, you know, the things they talk about.
Okay.
But of course, I can't agree with everything that they say. It's almost like it's not cool if you're not a feminist, you're not cool. You can't sit with us. You know, it doesn't even make sense, you know.
Okay.
You should also understand that the things you've gone through in your relationships with people or whatever has, you know, informed your decisions and the way you act today doesn't apply to the other person. Like,
yes.
I see girls who are happy to be housewives. But everybody cannot come out fighting.
Yes.
Everybody can't come out, you know, with guns blazing.
I think there's different versions of that for each generation. I don't think it's wrong. I think everybody's version is correct. I just think it's how you're applying it in that situation. It's like I was listening to these men. I was telling you how this man said he went to a conference about feminism and he didn't want to speak on it after he said that. But then somebody else who was older said, I don't know why they're trying to bring that crap to Nigeria. And I was like, what? And then it's more so like, I was like, is this, then they like expanded on that and was saying that I don't know why they're trying to change what is culturally here already to like bring that into it. And I'm just kind of like, but how do you know how feminism will kind of like, I guess, mesh with this? Like, are you even understanding what it means?
They feel it's sexist.
Yes.
You know, anybody that says, I feel like anybody that says outright no to feminism has that whole
the definition
sexist
of the word has feminine in there, which tends to be women, right?
Yeah.
So if you hear a term and it sounds general, you don't research it, you don't look into it, it just seems anti-men, right?
Yeah,
And
true.
I think that's easy for you to think, because how many people read? A lot of people don't read. To be honest, some people don't read things that are in the title sometimes. So like you're having to have people do more than what they would want to do anyway to research and expand on that. So if I heard the word masculinity, people hear toxic masculinity and they go crazy, right? Like this is this terrible thing. You're just anti-men.
Yeah.
I even know women who are anti all these things too. And so that's why it's just like you put a word there and it's going to have this power because they just associate it to the best. That's how our brain works in general. We see something and we fill in the gaps with our minds without having to research, without certain people will look further into things, but it's not there. But the same way as you were saying, there's some women who are stay-at-home moms and their lives, they're having fun sitting at home. I know I could not be a stay-at-home mom.
Exactly.
I would be so restless. I would be bored.
And I would not, advise anybody to be. But, there are also some people, like, I remember when we were leaving secondary school, one teacher was talking to us and he said, some of you here will never see each other. Some of you here will die before you get to a certain age. Some of you will be married. Some won't. Like, he said really deep things that were scary. And it's almost like if I'm a feminist, I should be able to understand that somebody else would not be and might not be interested in it. And it's fine. I shouldn't antagonize, Doesn't the time they were trying to cancel Chimamanda, and I'm like, maybe she said something that didn't align
with their thoughts and
with
their
their values. But I remember once Chimamanda said, I don't know if I've mentioned this earlier, she said Beyonce's feminism is not her feminism.
Yes.
And it's fine because the kind of things that Beyonce is like fighting for is not the same as us. The American women have more opportunities. I think I read somewhere a while back that feminism actually started out of, white women wanting to now be equal with their men.
Yes.
So already, as a white woman, you already have access to everything except working, except being in politics. Mm-hmm. While the women in Africa don't even have access to a quarter of what. Yes. So the things they're fighting for are actually very different from today. And in fact, I remember somebody mentioned somewhere that in Africa, this whole thing. I think some people even went as far as saying, why there's some group of feminists that believe that kids shouldn't bear the father's name. Why should I change my name from my father's? After my father sent me to school, all the degrees I have.
I don't want to change my name.
No. But now I think that's kind of West, because I think that comes from us adopting the Western culture
mindset. Because
earlier on, I've read somewhere that African kids were actually named after African women.
Okay.
In the older, because kids were known by their mothers. Don't forget, these men married 15, 30 wives. So how are you going to know who is who?
A lot of things that are here are things that were brought into by another culture. Didn't the British come over here and put a lot of their things and their views and thoughts there. Yeah. So I think all of these will be kind of like a mosh, like a mixture of a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. Like my reason for not wanting to change my last name is because I like how my name sounds together, and it's a lot of work to change a name. Like over in the US, you have to change every single document that you have that will that signifies you, right? And I also like my upbringing. I think it's also a cultural connection, because if I don't marry a Nigerian, that means I'm deleting the rest of my heritage for me. But so I think people not changing their names or changing. I know people who put their names together.
A lot of people confuse sexism.
Okay.
And even other things that are not even sexism. Like, okay, imagine, for example, somebody messages you on Facebook.
Okay.
This is my own experience. Somebody sent me a message on Facebook a while back. And like, I'm usually the kind of person that I'm on Facebook. Unless I have a reason to be on my messenger.
Okay.
You know, then I'll go there. So you sent me a message and I didn't see it on time. And I'm like going about my business. Then one day I'm like, okay, let me just check my messenger. Maybe I have messages. And I go there and I see somebody who tried to send me a message and I didn't respond. And the next word that came was feminist. It's almost like, you know, like he's using it as a derogatory word.
What was the original message?
Just it's not going to be anything other than hi beauty, hi love.
First of all, I think that person knows who
Something
he is
very
as
random.
a person. And so that was easy for him to spew at you, to bring that negativity at you, because he knows that what he said was nothingness. And
I feel like anybody that feels using feminist,
why is that even a negative word to him? I would ask him, why did you think this was negative to me? Thank you.
I don't even, like, anybody that uses feminist as a derogatory word is actually very dumb. I'm sorry. You're actually very dumb. I'm actually a very chilled feminist. I saw a video on YouTube the other time. She said she's a womanist.
Okay.
I think it means pro-women.
I think, though, any way that women or men or people in general find to empower themselves is positive.
It's fine, yeah.
As long as it's in a positive light, in a positive way. When you start bringing like destructive things into it, where it's like a war or like a kind of like headbutting of topics, I think this becomes something where this is not moving anything forward. It's taking us backwards, and you're moving away from what I think the concept originally stood for. And so when they make it this, it's because they want something to fight against. And because I also think, no offense, but I think as women, because we are gaining in power and gaining in strength and like our own empowerment, right?
Yeah.
I think there's more women in government now. There's more like in politics and things like that. People need to find ways to stop change. A lot of people don't like change. And with that, you have to find ways that you feel like can fight that. But in the grand scheme of things, change is going to happen. You can't stop it.
Change.
You can't. Like, you might delay it, but in the grand, everything changes.
I think we're going to be digressing a little. I hope you don't get uncomfortable.
Okay.
So, okay, Nigeria, we have a lot of these conversations around bill splitting. Would you ever split bills?
To be honest, I don't like paying for anything. So, of course, I'm not going to be pro splitting a bill, because I think my money is my money and it feels nice. But I have to pay for myself.
The Nigerian girls, we say, my money is my money,
Your
money is our money.
I said that to my own parents. Like, it's the same thing. I said, I'm your responsibility for life or until I get married. So your money's my money, my money's my money. But it's also a joke. Like, I think when it comes to it, you guys make your decisions.
Yeah.
If you don't want to split a bill, that
It's
person
fine.
is not a person you should have a relationship with. If you find someone, it's not. If that person does not want to split a bill with you, and that, like, as a man or as a woman who wants to, because there's women who also want to split the bills as well.
Of course.
If that's not someone, that person shouldn't be in your life in that romantic or in that capacity, because that's not going to be something that you enjoy doing. But I know people who are okay. Like, I watched Love is Blind, that's on Netflix series, and this man told his future wife that he doesn't care about bill stuff. I'll do 75%. You know, she was just like, oh, okay. Like, you know, and then there's another couple on that show when the guy's like, I only will do 50-50. And she was okay with it. And people trolled her like, 50-50, you're married, blah, blah, blah. But she's okay with it. So if that's something that you cannot accept.
I don't think 50-50 is actually fair on a woman.
See?
I'll say I don't think it's fair because, you know, if I'm having the babies, please come 100% or don't come at all.
This is what you're doing. So that's why I say that is your logic, your idea.
Yes,
but
that's
like
mine.
To some people, 50-50, if he's having to work long hours and be out all day, even though you're having the baby, he's also taxing his body by working, depending on what his job is.
But we're both
so why can't you find your 50-50 in whichever way?
So I'm having the baby, you're bringing in the money.
Okay.
That's 50-50 enough.
See, and I think that depends on the person. For me, I say that if it works for you, like if I love you, I'm willing to compromise on a lot of things.
Of course.
There'll
always be room to compromise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like 50-50 bill splitting, I think is based on the relationship. When people go so hard about you should never, like if you're paying half this, that's your roommate. Like I see people write that about like apartments and things in our comments.
Yeah.
They're like, if I'm splitting the rent, we're not in a relationship, we're roommates. And I'm just like, I mean, I can see how that's accurate. But on the other side, you also can be in a relationship. So like, I can see both sides. So I'm always a person where I think there's always going to be multiple sides to every situation. Which helps me to stay very peaceful because I don't like no drama in my life.
So, okay, what do you think about polygamy?
I think if it works for you, that's great. That's it. Like, I'm not anti a lot of things unless it's like negatively affecting people's lives. Like, I think killing people is terrible. Like, I think there's certain things that are terrible, but I've seen people let that work for them because I do know people in those type of relationships, and it's not my relationship. I'm not a part of it, so I've like, do what you want to do, but I've seen how it destroys relationships. I've seen people's marriages crumble. I've had people call me while they're like, I can't get this person to stop seeing somebody else. But then here, if you're able to have multiple wives, that's polygamy.
Why I brought this in is because there's this guy on, I think it was like that video was trending on social media last week. I don't know if you saw it. So this guy is talking about himself, like he is in either Germany or one of these countries, and his wife is in Nigeria. He comes home like once every 2 years, or 3 years or whatever.
That's his
and
real
he's
wife?
like, his real wife, and he's like, he can cheat, he can do whatever he wants, but if she there's if she steps out, it's over. He's from a certain, he mentioned the village that he's from there, and he would never forgive her and trust the feminists to come
did they talk to her?
What?
Like, you said that he was on the video, but did they actually talk to the wife?
No, they didn't talk to her. It was just him. What she thinks. And to even be very, like, it was a good thing to see a lot of men come out to like bash this guy. I'm like, what are you even saying? For the first time, like, I actually saw Nigerian men say something pro-women. Okay. No, I'm not saying they don't say... No, they actually say... No, come on. I'm just kidding, but...
Are you?
It was the first time I saw a huge number of men... coming out to be like, you're yarning dust. Like, why would you say this? Blah, blah.
Yes.
And me, I'm like, guy, you're just here talking. This girl is even somewhere else. This woman is just somewhere else
every few
chilling.
months, you don't know what she's doing. Exactly. Women are actually better at keeping secrets as well, so she could be living a whole nother life.
That's when toxic masculinity... Anyway, that's another conversation for another day. I'm a man, so therefore... So sometimes I also understand why these feminists try to match up the energy, because whether you like it or not, there's always going to be like... So as we have toxic men,
yes,
we're going to have toxic women.
Okay.
We have men that fight for men. We're also going to have women that fight for women.
Yes.
So just like me, the one that just wants to be peaceful and chill and still be the very
firecracker. I feel like a lot of the things
feminism.
That you say also have like heaps of the fire in it too. So you're not that far away. Not saying that you're not, but like peace can also have some rage in it,
Of course.
Like you're not just always going to be 100% calm.
Of course, no.
Like there's going to be things that also trigger
that will rile me up.
Like yes, and the things that you want to actively be a part of or not be a part of. Yeah. And I think that's why it's just one of those things where it's like you're always going to be able to throw something in there.
Of course.
Or there's going to be things where you just don't want no part of. Like I don't want to like flame, like what's it called, stoke the flames, like make it even worse. So that's why like when you saw those comments, that like invigorated you because you said you seen men, tons of men, write in a positive way about women, and I think that's, first of all, that's great to see, but hopefully you see that a lot more often because I think I see that in real life. I see people do that and like kind of go there, like in terms of supporting women, and I think there's tons of men who support women. I think there's tons of women who support men that like it shouldn't be a thing. Where it's
the thing about social media, to be very honest with you, is that a lot of people are actually very different on social media. Because, for example, you might have men that are feminists, but when they're on social media because they want to join the cool crowd, they'll rather bash women.
Yes.
But in their real lives,
they're super sweet and nice.
Yes, they can't disrespect women.
It's all fake. It's all a mirage. Like social media to me isn't real. So I don't take it as seriously as some people, I guess, do. Some people are so into it but my thing is if you're spending that much time on social media, I'm not saying that you do, but if you're spending too much time or that much time on social media that is like affecting like that, get off. Like take time away and stop like falling into these traps of these kind of fiery conversations.
I actually don't take those things seriously.
But then some people do. Like if you ask a question, it's like, do you consider yourself a feminist? I would say yes, but do I go around and say, oh yes, I'm this feminist, blah, blah, blah? No, I haven't because I know that our feminism across the place isn't the same. Like how you said Beyonce's feminism isn't my feminism, and we're even in the same country. We don't have the same issues. We're not the same skin complexion. Like there's so many caveats to like things that pack on that I'm just like, our lives aren't the same, that I'm not going to sit here. And I think you can ever use one word to signify a billion people.
And I think there's something else. So in Nigeria, for example, if you don't want to get married, that's your ID card for feminism. So most so if you say you're not, oh, she doesn't want to get married, she must be a feminist.
Okay.
But people have forgotten that feminism isn't everything. People might actually have other reasons for not wanting to be married or not wanting
marriage
to
is so
have
marriage should be like a 5-part podcast that you're going to do.
Exactly.
Because there's so many different parts to marriage, and then the claims of wanting it, not wanting it, kids, no kids, those different things. I think you were telling me before about how some people like trick you into these marriages or find ones.
That's a different topic.
I know, but like this is me learning
pregnancy
things too.
Traps.
And I'm just like, whoa, and I know pregnancy traps existed in the women's side, but I didn't understand in the men's side. And so I know there's like so many different things that we're gonna keep lumping together. That's why I think marriage is its own topic. Feminism can keep going on forever. I'm sure we don't have a lot of time to talk forever. But I think like it's one of those things that will always keep going. And that we're always, I think you could even have another conversation tomorrow and still expand on it. And like each time, every day, it's more like the world changes, life changes for you personally, that we're always going to be able to keep going about it. And that's why I just hope for, like my hope for it, and like my understanding might be more broad about it, but my hope for it is that we find ways to keep it at a peaceful state where we're coming together as people, because that's more important to me than bashing anybody or bringing things down or like attacking.
On a final note, it's almost like feminism should be something that, betters people as opposed to bring people down. As opposed to hurt people, as opposed to, say, oh, you're not cool, you're not with us,
But that also
shouldn't bring division.
People who are at the top being okay with people growing. And I think a lot of times there's, I guess, like not wars, but there's conflicts because people, a lot of people don't want you to be at their level. They want some people like to be better than. And I think at a point, like how you're saying, like equality, equity. I think what you were saying before.
Equity,
Yes, that like a lot of people don't want someone to be paired with them. So you're going to have people fighting for that because they like being up and they want to look down on people. I think that's how capitalism, all these other things work. And so I think until we all, like, or not all, but people change their mindset and want to bring people up with you and be up there, like you're going to have these kind of tiffs that go on that may never change because, to be honest, I don't think there's ever going to be a time where everyone sees eye to eye. Like this word is always going to spark some type of debate. And 100 years from now, from other people, our grandkids, if you have kids in the future, that's another topic. But like
when we have
kids, okay. So I think those things are always going to stay constant, which I think is great. Like having conversations like this helps diversify the conversations that are out there. And I hopefully, if people take anything from this, is that they're taking away any type of knowledge and like insight that they can apply in a positive way for whatever they're thinking about it, and that we're adding to the conversation and not bringing it down.
I think we can go on and on and on.
Yes, because we probably both talk a lot.
We haven't even scratched the surface. Thank you so much, Koyo, for
inviting me. This has been fun. This is a vacation for me, coming back to Nigeria after a long time. So sitting here, seeing the studio is beautiful, and like being a part of your podcast, I think is very fun.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been an interesting episode. See you in my next one. Bye.